Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
Are you speaking to buyers who are just browsing or ones that are actually ready to buy? Knowing the difference between content and copy can change everything. And I'm excited that we have a friend with us. Her name is Lynn Horwitz from Lynn H Marketing, and she is going to help us understand the difference between copy and content. So welcome to the show, Lynn. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, and I look forward to our chat.
So, Lynn, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get into helping people write copy and content? I always love to hear people's journey stories.
Sure. It's never a straight line, right? Everyone always has a few twists and turns in their lives. I have spent about 20 years as an interior designer, and I've spent my whole life as a storyteller. My first degree was in communication. I thought I was going to go down the journalism track, and then I decided to shift into corporate communication and took a job in a hotel to understand the operation side and loved it. So I ended up working as an executive housekeeper for 10 years and working on the story in the hotel to make sure that our guests had an exceptional guest experience. I then segued and got a degree in interior design and started designing for hotels. So now I was getting really involved in the concept and the development. And again, that story, right? So because a hotel is emotion and you have to connect with people on their emotions for it to be impactful and memorable. This was before Instagram and really how you marketed was for people to go home and tell stories about their great stay at your hotel. I then moved back to New York City and started a residential interior design company. And now it's getting personal. Now I'm talking to couples and families and really trying to understand who they are and what they want their space to feel like. So my storytelling has always been more in the physical world, but it's still about making that connection and using my skill set, listening to people, understanding people, recognizing their fears, wants, needs, and desires, translating that into a design project, into a physical environment. And now I'm doing that with the words. So it's the same skill set. I'm still listening for the same things. I'm still interpreting, and I'm still trying to make sure that the words that I'm writing are authentic to my client and also impactful to their client. So I love it. It's just a sort of natural transition for me. And it's a great opportunity to really help other interior designers, which is predominantly most of my clients at this point. Designers, people who work in the home environment, decor, improvement, those sorts of areas. I get that world, and I'm happy to help people grow their businesses.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think getting our messages across, like I feel like we know what our value propositions are and we kind of know what our mission statements are, but to really communicate that is so challenging. And I know Jeanne and I always joke about the fact that as business partners, we get along so well. The only time we're like 6-year-olds bickering is when we have to write sales copy. And so it's very fascinating, but tell us a little bit about what it's like to work with you when you're trying to help your client figure out their customer journey so that you can figure out what content to write for them and what the stages are.
Yeah, I ask a ton of questions, and that's how I get the information. So because I'm listening to the words that you use and I'm looking for your personality so that I can write authentically. And then what's really important is understanding what result you want, because each message has to have intention and it has to be tied to a very specific result. So when we talk about the buyer's journey, right, it is truly a journey. And the bigger the ask, the longer the journey. So we go from your unaware clients and customers to very aware, ready to buy. There's so many steps in between there. So unaware is, they may not know you at all, may not know your business, your company. your brand. Some people may not even know they have a problem that you're here to solve. So we have to kind of identify that problem, agitate it a little bit, and then start talking about solutions, right? And then it's a question of being able to explain and again, emotionally connect with people so that they see that how you solve their problem is different from the 100 other people that do what you do. So you're always building that connection and you're always trying to meet people where they are. And that takes time and it takes different steps. And that's where content and copywriting differ. So content is sort of at the beginning of the journey, right? Because we do business with people who we know, like, and trust. But you have to build that. It takes time. And it takes several different touch points to do that. And I think even now, more so than ever, where there's so much noise, there's so much content, we're bombarded constantly, it's even harder and it takes longer to kind of rise above and stand out. So that's where I come in, because I'll asking you, what result do you want? What are you currently doing? And then I can help you figure out what we need to do to have a bigger impact and get your buyer to the other end of the country, which is very aware, you've overcome their objections, and they're ready to buy. That's the copywriting.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you find it difficult? You were talking about, how a business owner explains how they solve the problem, which is a little bit different than everyone else. I feel like that can be such a big challenge. And you hear people like, well, I've got great customer service. Well, you assume everybody you're going to work with has great customer service. And in this day and age of reading people's Google reviews, right? I feel like that's a very low bar for, how you are separating yourself. So tell us a little bit about how people can think about solving a problem differently or showcasing a different value proposition. And you work with a lot of designers. Do some of them have different value propositions that you guys have crafted?
Absolutely. And it's a great question because that is how you stand out. And it is difficult. And it takes digging. It's your personality and it's your approach and your process. So we're always talking about what your process is. And then it's relating it to the client and really also listening to what will help them be comfortable to make the decision. Case studies are a fabulous tool because you're showing a result. You're showing it in an individual, personalized way for that particular company or client that you've solved their problem. And different case studies are going to resonate with different potential future clients. Someone's going to hear something and it's not what you said, because you're right. I can say I have great customer service. But when one of my clients is saying it, and this is how this, provided this service, it lands differently and it has a bigger impact. So I'm always all about testimonials, case studies, white papers, right? That content is about creating you as a thought leader. And you have to be willing to take a stand and have an opinion and risk some people disagreeing with you. And that's okay, right? Because not everyone is going to be your perfect client. That's how you find your perfect client.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think we all want to work with, we want to be liked, right? As a general rule. Jeanne wants to be liked a lot more than I want to be liked. I'm kind of, I can be a hermit in a lot of ways. So I don't need a lot of people to like me. But, it is true. It's human nature that we want to be liked. We want to think that, what we do provides such great value, or we truly help our clients. It's almost like, well, why would someone not want to work with me? But I do feel like that is a big, when people step over that threshold of understanding not everyone is my ideal client, and to be able to really call in and attract those ideal clients makes a world of difference, because, like the process that you use may not be ideal for every single person. Maybe it's ideal for people who are extremely detail oriented, or maybe your process is great for people who are more laid back. So when you think about like your content, you're right, you're creating content that would attract that ideal client. And Jeanne, I feel like this is something we talked about a lot of times.
Yeah, because our process is so different to everyone's, but it's just articulating that And I think that's you earlier you talked about storytelling. Would that be a great example of something to bring in? Would be storytelling?
Absolutely. So it can be your personal journey, your personal why. That's very compelling for people. They get them, I get you, right? And you're maybe just, a few steps ahead of where they want to be. So I talk about that, especially with coaches and people that are working with individuals or companies to transform lives. You don't have to be this, huge, mega successful person or company. You have to be able to just share your journey, share your why, and be, willing and open about wanting to help other people along on that same journey.
I love that. So you said earlier that I love this. People who are unaware, you're creating content for them. And we're actually big advocates of video content because I feel like that's really where your personality comes out, even more so than written. I mean, written is definitely some of it, and is a lot of the copywriting part of it. But we love video, but we don't do a lot. I mean, we do a lot of video for our YouTube channel and for our podcasts, but we don't like go live in places that we probably could and should.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so for companies, especially interior designers, those sort of behind the scenes snapshots and short video clips, again, are very powerful because people like to see how you're handling those sorts of situations when all of a sudden the wrong tile shows up and you're ready to install. Okay, well, that's a great unscripted clip, but it's very powerful. So, people are uncomfortable with video often. So, I think it's very important to have. I'm starting to see a lot more of it on people's websites. Sometimes I'll write just the speaking points, or say, well, try this approach. Right. But again, it has to come out feeling natural. It has to come out as a story. And that's where your personality starts to shine when you're not thinking.
So true.
Yeah, actually, some of Kirsten's best words come from our meetings with our clients where they're asking questions and she's doing a lot of coaching during those meetings. And so that's when she shines because it's just natural for her.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, sometimes Jeannie will say, "Can you say that again?" And I'm like, "No, it flew out." I think it was a download from above. It just flew out of my mouth and I can't say it again. And it's interesting because I feel like when we're working with clients who, whether they're starting a traditional YouTube channel or they're starting a video podcast, they do have the resistance, I think, to being on video is, first of all, how I look and how I sound. I think that's always, something that can be a challenge to get over and move through. But the other thing that we find is, what do I say? And for some clients, having a detailed written out script with a teleprompter works. For other people, it's just like having talking points and maybe notes about what stories they want to share. But I think all of this, when you think about your content, it's so important. Like you said, video is where you build that know, like, and trust because people get to see your personality. And interesting because when we think about writing copy, Jeannie and I can spend hours. We work with professional copywriters. And sometimes, like Jeannie said, I'm on a podcast. I was on an interview a few months back, and the person asked me a question. And I said, well, we're not a marketing agency and we're not an outsourcing agency. We have programs where we truly coach our clients, but then we pair them with trained virtual assistants to take care of the task. That's how we're very different. I had never said it that way ever before. It was like, so sometimes I think that, when you're talking to someone, if you say something and it came out really well, try to jot it down or try to remember it. Because again, I think when we sit down to write copy or we sit down to write, content outlines or post or whatever, we freeze up mentally. It's like our brain just stops.
Exactly. And sometimes I'll say to people, or I'll do it myself, I speak and use the apps and it's typing it out. Or I force myself, I put a timer and I say, just write. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about sentence structure. Just get it down on the paper and then step away, come back to it, and then start to massage it. Because just like speaking, sometimes it takes a few minutes to get into your flow.
And it's interesting because I feel like so many people are using AI to write content or write copy, but without knowing how to properly prompt it. And it's always interesting because people are always asking us, well, AI is going to replace all of us. And it's like, no, I think people still want a human connection. If I don't know what to ask chat, or I don't know anything about copywriting and I don't know how to word it correctly, I'm going to struggle to get an AI tool to create great sales copy for me. And I think that's really the difference of working with a person who knows how sales copy is structured and why it's structured that way. And, it's a lot more nuance in it than I think people realize.
Agreed, 100%. And I think AI is a tool. It's garbage in, out.
Yes.
Right. So one of the things, projects that I offer my clients, who I call them my DIYers, who for whatever reason, want to do their content, write their blog posts or write their sales copy and their ads, and that's fine. But I can create what I call a brand messaging guide for them. And it's something that identifies their voice, their personality, their tone, their why, and then, the problems, the solutions. And I create a guide for them to then be able to upload into AI or give to their graphic designer or any other supporting company that's doing work for them. And that way you're consistent, because maybe today you're having a bad day. And so maybe that usual, positive, fun, lifting voice isn't quite there. And all of a sudden you're on a deadline, you've got to get a post out and you're writing it. This helps you stay consistent, on track, and also helps the rest of your team, whatever your team is, be the same message.
I think that's an incredible offer. I think for anyone out there listening and you're not ready to hire a copywriter, but you need help and you want to use AI, definitely reach out to Lynn, because that's something very different than what a lot of people offer. And I think it's quite brilliant. And like I said, because Jeanne and I, there's two people here, we have different, origin stories, we communicate differently. So it is always so important for us to figure out how to have that brand voice. And Jeanne, I feel like we've always done a good job with logos and colors and fonts, but brand voice is where we've always struggled.
Yes. Lynn, what would you suggest to maybe a team that you would be working with two people who communicate differently? How would you help them, write their brand message?
Yeah. And I think that's a great question, because person on the team could be responsible for the blog post that goes out. It's going to be in their voice, and it's going to start attracting people, with that personality. And then the other person could be more focused on partnerships that they're trying to build, because that's how they communicate, and that communication is more stronger for that direction. And so you want to lean into your strengths and recognize it. And that's why you're partners and why you're successful, because you do bring different things to the table. And that actually helps amplify your voice so that you are attracting these different people and different personalities. So it's a strength. Don't feel like it's a negative.
Yeah, that's hard sometimes. We tend to think, well, which way is right? And, to your point, they're both right. They're just right for different people. And sometimes they're right for the same people.
Yes. And sometimes it's testing, so if you have two different approaches, we'll test them both, see what works. People shift also, sort of mention that, so you're trying to meet people where they are. Well, they might be in a different place today than they were yesterday. So that's, again, where consistency becomes so important, because especially referral-based businesses like designers, realtors, where your client may not need you again for a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. You have to stay in front of them so that they remember you, so that when they are ready, they can call you. Because they may not remember. How many times have you heard, oh, yeah, I worked with this designer. I have to find her contact information. Well, if you have a newsletter landing in their inbox every month or every week, it's so easy.
Yeah. I think people forget how important it is to carry on the conversations with clients. Like, you've got a happy client. They're the people who are going to refer you business. So whether it's, reaching out to them personally and just saying, hey, it's been 6 months since we did your design. How's everything going? Do you need to tweak anything? Did you have any questions for me? Little things like that make the biggest difference. And then again, consistently showing up in their inbox with content, showing up on social media and things like that continues to help them remember you to refer you.
Exactly. And I always tell my clients, referrals don't happen by accident.
No.
You have to ask for it. You have to make it easy, and that's how you staying in front of people. You don't always know what piece of content actually got that person to either buy from you or refer you. So that's why you just keep going.
Yeah. And these days you've got to be in front of people so many times. I mean, I think back in the day, it was like they had to be exposed to you 6 times. Now I heard somebody say they need to be exposed to at least 90 minutes of your content. So it's just getting longer and longer because there's so much, more and more content out there and more competition for eyeballs.
And that's where it's more and more important for you to be authentic and an individual and not sound like the masses.
Yeah, I love that. Lynn, this has been fantastic. You are amazing. I can see why you're such a good content and copywriter.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I have no doubt that anybody listening has gotten a ton of benefits from all that you've mentioned. So we loved having you on the show today. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And you asked great questions. And I just look forward to helping everyone grow. Thank you.
Oh, we forgot to ask you, what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they're saying, Lynn, she's hitting all the points that I'm struggling with, so I need to reach out to her?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Lynn Horwitz, and it's Horwitz. So sometimes people sneak in an extra O. And or you can email me directly, lynnhmarketing@gmail.com. I'm happy to have a chat. On LinkedIn, there's a link for my Calendly, so you can schedule a 20-minute discovery call with me. There's no pressure. Just ask a question. We'll just talk a little strategy and see, what's missing or what you're trying to get more traction on. I also have a newsletter that I write for myself for people interested in a healthy home. And that's on Substack. So it's livinghivelifestyle.substack.com. That's my writing style. So obviously, I tailor my projects for my clients, but it's also just a lighthearted approach to healthy home living.
Perfect. And we'll put those links in the show notes.
Great.
So more benefits from listening to Lynn. So thank you again, Lynn, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the 6-Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.